'cause I see ya. Hater, really wouldn't want to be ya. I've known ever since I was a knee.
All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. We're going to go over all of the current events, including, of course, Russia and Ukraine and the rumors about France, what they might possibly be doing, and we're going to go over all of the last 72 hours and what has happened over the weekend. So buckle up. Of course, somebody in chat just said, one day closer to SHTF. I really hope that SHTF is not the SHTF that some envision, but it is coming closer to a more probable event, which is at least some discomfort for most across the planet. Talking about, things like grid down and things like this are the most probable out of everything, way more probable than, say, like the end of the world or a mutually assured destruction situation. But Russia warns of a direct clash with the West over Ukraine. This is actually what everybody is warning about right now because a certain bill just went through. We'll, again, cover that here in a second. Russia said on Monday that U.S., British, and French military support for Ukraine has pushed the world to the brink of direct clash between the world's biggest nuclear powers that could end in catastrophe. It says President Vladimir Putin's 2022 invasion of Ukraine has touched off the worst breakdown in relations between Russia and the West since the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis. And it says just 2 days away after lawmakers approved billions of dollars in additional military aid to Ukraine, Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said that the United States and NATO were obsessed with the idea of inflicting strategic defeat on Russia. Lavrov said that Western support for Ukraine was putting the United States and its allies on the verge of direct military clash with Russia. The Westerners are teetering dangerously on the brink of a direct military clash between nuclear powers, which is fraught with catastrophic consequences, Lavrov told Moscow Conference on non-proliferation. It says, quote, of particular concern is the fact that the troika of Western nuclear states that are among the key sponsors of the criminal regime, the main initiators of various provocative steps, we see that there are serious strategic risks in this, leading to an increase in the level of nuclear danger. So nuclear is always used as more of a fear thing as far as, even if something did go way over red lines, is Russia going to nuke us? No, because then we nuke them, and it's mutually assured destruction. So if you really did subtract the nuclear part of this out of the equation completely, a lot of the fear would be gone. But the fear should still be there for a hot war that is drones versus drones, of course, a physical war between us. I seriously think that unless there was an absolute mistake or AI took over and pushed the button for them, that nobody's going to be pushing nukes unless it is a single nuke, it is tactical, and they probably will even give a heads up that they're sending one, that kind of thing. But that's just my opinion. Again, the war is coming as far as the hot war. We're already in a digital war. We're already in a spy war. We're already in a sleeper cell war right now. With all of the events going on around the United States, it would take a crazy person not to see all of these crazy events that are happening all over the place and think, oh yeah, no, they don't have people here. We don't have people there. Yeah. So we're going to talk about this and much, much more on tonight's show of Marfoogle TV. Stick around. You do not want to miss what we're about to show you. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough.
Wouldn't want to be, I've I've known ever since I was a knee-high. You the monster, I don't feed her, cause I see ya. Hater, really wouldn't want to be ya. I've known ever since I was a knee-high. You the monster, I don't feed her, cause I see ya.
We're going to be going over to the map here. We're going to show you some things. And before we get started, if you are new here, if somebody brought you in, first of all, thank you to whoever brought you here or suggested us, and thank you for giving us your time. Second of all, if you're first time here, there is always a bibliography of all of our sources. So if you wonder, like, where are you getting this stuff from? There's a full list over on marfooglenews.com. You can find today's thumbnail. You'll just look for this on marfooglenews.com. Click on it, and it will bring you to a full source list. Every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we are going to show you here today is all at your fingertips. Not only that, on the right, affiliates of any of the products that we mentioned. These are all products, most of them we've had for years and years, that we thoroughly believe that will either save your life, make your life more comfortable during a disaster. It's a way that you don't have to just straight up, instead of donating to a streamer, you can actually get something that's useful to you at a discount and that you can use for years and years to come. So that's a much better way if you're going to do something. That way you get something out of it and something that will help you prepare. So that's also over on the right of every page. Thank you guys for those who do support us. We're completely independent. Let's bring in my co-internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So, of course, Russia warns of direct clash. Most people, so at this point, so many people are super confused with what is being said by media. Nobody trusts anybody. Everybody is arguing about what's actually going on right now. I have been going with my gut for a while now. Even what my gut says, people have this really like raw reaction to, which I believe we are headed into a full-on hot war with China, Russia, Iran, all of NATO, all of Australia, all of our allies. Everybody is going to be going off on this one. And that is a scary thing to think about. But it is something that happens in our world. And it has been so far from World War II that a lot of people are really, their minds are the farthest from. Especially here in the United States, we have actually been pretty geographically safe here. Anytime there were proxy wars or something going on, it was somewhere else. Meanwhile, if you lived in Israel or Iran or somewhere like this, it's like you grew up. I knew people that grew up with missiles going over their heads. I've met people that when they were 3 or 4 years old had missiles going over, and that was normal. Here, it might be a little different. You may hear shots going off, and I've lived in some bad neighborhoods, but it is nothing that compares to what people in other places have gone through. So I do think that Americans, we have felt this pride and this safety that we are the biggest, we are the baddest, we are the strongest. But unfortunately, after years and years of what I believe has been going on, which is infiltration, and of course, infiltration has always happened. There's always been spies. There's always been sleeper cells. After years and years of that and big money flowing into the countries that are really good at said infiltration, that slowly, piece by piece, they're picking away at our defenses from the inside out, which if you were to take over or try to take on a country like the U.S., you would have to do that exactly like that. You would not be able to go head to head with our military. You would have to go from the inside out, cause chaos, sow division, and do everything that we're seeing right now. And the reason why I think this is happening is it's so absolutely out of left field in the last 5-6 years that it's coming out of this crazy place. And some would say in the last 10 years, 20 years, it's been a generational thing. It's like they were thinking in decades, not in years. So that's why when people say, oh, yeah, you've been saying for 3 years or 4 years that it was going to be war. This is a war that took decades to build up to. They are setting up framework to take over the world. Taking over the world is not an easy task. Taking over the world isn't something you go and think about. This is humans we are talking about. It takes months to plan for a concert. It takes months or years to plan for an event with tens of thousands of people. We're talking about millions and millions and millions, billions of people are going to be affected during this war. Multiple countries, multiple different politics systems. We're talking about multiple different alliances. multiple currencies. Everything that is involved with this is complex. So for somebody, for the how many steps to get through as already gotten through right now, this takes the people at the very, very, very top of the entire world doing this. It's actually scary to think about how far this goes up, and we can't even see the ceiling of it because we don't know what the actual ceiling is. We see the people that the puppeteers are holding, but we don't see the people above them. We have little drip drops of if they were rain, we would get just the couple drips off of the roof as it came down, and we'd be able to look at it and go, oh, there's a little piece of it, but the entire roof is covered and soaked in the top layer. We don't know who is really doing this. So we have to use our guts. Follow your guts, people. Do you think war is coming, or do you think that this is all just some ploy? For what, though? For control. And to control and to have a new system take place, you have to tear down the old one. You have to rebuild a house, you have to tear down the foundation and then build from scratch. And that is exactly what I think they are doing. Dex, as far as the clash with the West, it's not going to be just Russia. My opinion is it's not just a clash with Russia. We're not talking about a direct war with Russia. We're talking about a direct war with everybody. I think it would pop off with everyone. What do you think about that?
I tend to agree, and I think the problem is a lot of the world and most people look at everything in a binary format. And when you think about that, you've got division, you've got positive and negative, you've got right versus left, you've got good versus evil. Everything has a side, and it's usually binary. It's one side or the other. And when we think about the conflicts that are coming, there's obviously this binary alignment that's being set up of the West versus the rest. And the rest could be BRICS. The rest could just be anybody that's not an ally to the West. And you're starting to see them all pick sides, and you're seeing the conflicts start to pop off in little bits here and there. And eventually, as you say, it's going to turn into a one side versus the other side, and it's going to be a complete issue across the globe, and it could be happening everywhere and anywhere at any time. And the obvious points, as you said, were the Middle East and Europe and the Pacific theater, and even South America, and even Africa is being talked about, and even India. So, I mean, look, we all think that way. The population sort of falls in line that way. So when they create this, if that's what they're doing, or when this happens, it happens that way. And it's lining up perfectly to look like there's two big sides of the world against one another.
And they're saying that Africa is going to be the future breadbasket of the world. If you think about how we think in the terms of now, we think of the current countries and everybody, the power structure that we have now, what countries have certain amounts of power, what the hierarchy is of the Western nations, and what the hierarchy is of the Eastern nations. Like Russia is, of course, not the boss. Most people get it, that Xi is now the boss, and it didn't get that way overnight. It was since the 70s, them opening their doors to capitalism, and in the entire world starting to send their stuff there to be built for peanuts, not caring that it was actual human beings building the stuff. They didn't give a crap about that. We talk about rights and human rights. Meanwhile, this is the funniest thing to me, is we care so much, and we talk all day about the rights of all of us, right? But as far as but we will wear the shoes or say, oh, well, I own a company, I want to send my stuff over here, and then have them built by other people who have basically no rights. And we don't care about that. We just care about the people that we know, right? Well, think about the people at the very top. Think about, the conditions that some people are in to get lithium. The lithium trade, now that's been exposed. There's all sorts of craziness going on in different countries. The people that are actually mining different resources, they are in the worst conditions ever. But do most people care? No. They just want to get their freaking backup battery for their cell phone. Most people think about their inner circle. Think about the people at the very top. That's what I want to point out. Think about how do they care about us? Do they care about people across the planet? Do they care about people they never met? Absolutely not. They care about themselves, their inner circle, and that's it. This is going to be the bread box of the future. It's insane to me that places around the Middle East are turning green. They are doing programs, and there's certain things going on there that's absolutely nuts. They just had a flood in the deserts, and then places around the Holy Lands are turning green. And at the same time, you see all of these huge projects like NEOM and TRAM, and these giant projects of these living. There's sustained living that is going on. The wall, Saudi Arabia, the company NEOM and this group, they're building a giant wall that's going to be its own built-in city, and everybody's like, well, who would want to live in the desert? What if it's not a desert in the near future? That's actually possible with today's technology. And they're playing God. It's not going to be good for the rest of us. Is there going to be something that happens that restructures the planet to where the desert will not be a desert in the future? Who knows? But there's a lot going on for sure. And then the U.S. House passed the $95 billion bill, and $60 billion of it is directly for that. And what's crazy is the stuff that they hide in this. Just like when we went back to the CV bill, where they were actually trying to throw in stuff even about the draft into the CV bill. They also, the only way that back then when they did the CV bill, Dex, what was that thing that they threw? It was really weird. We talked about it for a while. They threw in the CV bill. It was like a surveillance thing, or it was, I know that they also tried to throw in the draft thing, but they threw in all sorts of other thit's that they said, well, we'll only pass this bill if you also put this in there. Do you remember? It was something that definitely changed how it's like they got something sneakily through. I feel like it has something to do with our rights and our. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I don't recall exactly which one you're talking about, but every time a bill like this gets passed, there's a bajillion little things that are snuck in there, and that's what's so crazy about the way our system works.
Somebody said that. No, gosh, I'm trying to remember. It was so unrelated, and that's the same with this one. This one we'll talk about here in a second has something thrown in there about TikTok. The TikTok thing is being thrown into this bill. So, and then billions of dollars going back into this conflict. It's like we thought we were almost done. Everybody thought, oh, they're not going to send any more money. They're going to bleed this dry. They're going to get money over there, and then that money, who knows where this next batch is going, then that money is going to be filtered through. I posted on Twitter a couple weeks ago, somebody said something like, oh, well, I don't think that, this money goes to where it was going, or something like this, and I think they were saying like, oh, people think that all of this goes, to bad places, or that there's corruption at every level. But they said I think it was underrated or something like that. And that whole day, it was like the theme on X. And it was like, so first of all, do you remember Afghanistan? Do you remember when that all ended after 20 years they left? Do you remember the president of Afghanistan, or the leader, or whoever that was? When he left, he resigned or left or whatever, he not only filled an entire helicopter, he filled 2 SUVs with hard cash. We're talking about millions and millions of dollars, pallets of actual cash into this thing. And you think that this money is going to good purposes? Like, there's just millions and millions of dollars that gets put to this or to this or this or that. I mean, why did that guy have so much cash? What justification was there, right? People said that there was justification to pay off certain tribe leaders during, the Iraq War and things like this to get information, and they would give them huge chunks. If you're in the military, you probably know. They probably gave you a stipend, and you were able to pay people off for info, and you were given just straight up cash. That's how they can not track billions of dollars. Yet anything we spend, they will track $6 at a shake shop if they want to. But as far as then they tell us the money that was given away, oh, well, we can't exactly track it. Why? It's crazy to me that this amount of money is being approved again. And it just shows you this isn't going to be over. Even though the public opinion is totally against this, nobody wants to send the money. They got it through, and they just had to wait a little bit. They had to jimmy it in there, and they finally did it. And they're going to do it again. That's my thoughts on it. What are yours? As far as there's also aid for Israel, there's, of course, $60 billion. A big chunk of it is for Ukraine. Dex, as far as, and we'll talk about here in a minute, there's jets, as far as different things that other countries are doing for Ukraine. Ukraine is not over, but they are losing. We'll talk about their TV station that just got, or their TV tower that just got taken down pretty bad. Dex, do you want to talk about TikTok ban, now inevitable after House passes the bill with it inside of it?
Yeah, so it was part of the bill, and the amendment was passed, obviously, with 360 to 58. Roughly 150 million people in America are using it. The big question now is what's going to happen to TikTok. Well, of course, it does have to be signed off by the Senate, but there's not much discourse there as far as thinking that this bill won't be signed off, because it's not just a TikTok bill, it's the whole defense bill and all the money for UKR and Israel and even the Pacific. So the question is, what's TikTok going to do? Will they divest? In other words, would they take the company and sell it to someone else that's not owned by them, so they would make a profit from that sale and then let it live on? Or will they walk away from the billions of dollars they're making off of the app? And now I think, because in my opinion, they treat it more like a weapon and they use it to program. And I would think because of that, and that's my opinion, because of that, they probably won't give it to anyone else. They're probably going to walk away from it. And we will probably see TikTok leave. Now, it won't go away right away. It's not like when this bill's signed, it's gone. There's a certain number of months they have to either divest it. And then once that happens, the rule isn't that the app has to be deleted. It has to just mysteriously go away. It's people can't provide it. So in other words, Apple or this platform, Google, will not be able to put it in their store. They'll have to remove it from the store. Doesn't mean the app won't still exist. It can still live on your phone until it no longer works anymore. And you won't be able to download it or update it. Now, you may be able to go download it or sideload it directly from TikTok off of their servers, if that's something you so choose to do, if you have that capability on your phone. But you won't be able to be a U.S. company and distribute it. So it is going away, in my opinion. It probably will go away. It's not like it's going to happen overnight.
And if somebody else buys it, you will instantly see they're not going to give ByteDance's algorithm to anybody. That algorithm, which is the heart of TikTok, the reason why people love it, the reason why people enjoy it so much, is because of that ByteDance algorithm. That algorithm is a weapon, like he said. It can also be used for good. Of course, as far as how it is able to keep serving you up stuff that you like and keep you hooked on it, that in the company's eyes is one of the best things ever. They get to hand choose, though, too. They can put certain things to the top and have a billion users all of a sudden just seeing nonstop propaganda about a certain subject. They have literally brainwashed people with that app. And you may not see it that way if things have been customized to you. Do you think, this isn't brainwashing me? Nobody knows when they're being brainwashed. Again, most of it is very well done. ByteDance, that algorithm, they've done documentaries and people have written books about it at this point because it is so powerful. There's no way they're going to sell it to another country. What I think will happen is immediately people will start complaining because TikTok's not the same if they do sell it, and it won't be anything like it was before, and the propaganda may change, but it will be something like that. They are not going to sell the algorithm. There's no way. Dex, go ahead.
I know a few people in chat have said, oh, well, shorts are the same thing, or, insert your other app here is the same thing. But I think the real difference you guys got to understand is that it's being controlled by China, where these other platforms have governance, if you want to call it that, or at least oversight to some level by our government. So if our government feels like it's doing something wrong, it may be able to force them with greater hand to stop it, where they can't really with TikTok. And at the same time, we also know that there's a lot of integration, I'll use that word, with our government systems and these platforms. So they may not get that with TikTok, so they may not like it.
And Shorts is not the same. It does not have the level of success. It does not have the level of customizing the content. because there are so many people, there's so many different things on TikTok that you don't have. You have, especially since they added the live streams and all of that, you're thinking of a certain subject. The thing is TikTok is also very blatant about not only tracking what you're doing inside TikTok, but it even puts it in the TOS that they may do keystroke monitoring. I mean, anything you're typing into your phone when you have TikTok in your app, it's going to record that, and it's going to have the algorithm feed you content that is going to match up your actual profile. Not to mention, people believe that they have this coordinated with the huge file. They say that China has a bigger file on you than the U.S. or this NSA or CIA has on you at all. So imagine if that was true, that China has a bigger file on each American, a bigger file than what we have. Think about how if they put that and combine that with that algorithm, they could serve you up things, and that's why people think it's so creepy that it predicts things. You'll be talking about something in the other room. One example when it first came out was the property line dispute. We were actually talking about something like this. All it showed my wife was property line disputes, and it wasn't something ever typed. It wasn't something this. We all know about that. Everybody's debated, is it listening or is it not? I believe it is, just like NSA is listening on smart TVs and CIA and all of these other agencies are as well, and they just will not admit it. Of course, doesn't matter because Snowden broke out the proof and brought the receipts, and it's happening, right? And they say they stopped, but come on, we're not stupid, or some are, but most of us aren't. So as far as TikTok, go look at the actual difference. Shorts is nothing like it. Shorts, and most of the stuff on Shorts is taken and ported over. You'll notice that the actual icons are just people ripping it from other platforms and then putting it on there. Shorts is getting better, but it doesn't have that same algorithm. That algorithm includes everything in there. I mean, it's hard to even put it into words how an algorithm could be a weapon. But information is one of the most powerful weapons in the world. I think it's more powerful than a nuke. It can do more damage. It can change entire cultures. Look at what's going on in the last 5-6 years. After thousands of years, all of a sudden, people are changing outlooks on life that have never changed. It's wild. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, and one last thing I'll just point out. I think I've said this before, maybe last week. There's a conflict here with this when it comes to things like freedom of speech or being able to communicate freely and openly by having your government shut down systems. So that's another issue that people look at this and say, well, it's easy to label the bad boogeyman on one side and say, well, yeah, we can shut that down for security reasons. But then what does that mean from taking away freedom of speech, so to speak, or at least the ability to have free communication? And is the government overstepping by doing that? So it's a delicate issue. I'm not picking a side on it. I definitely look at it and see both sides, to be honest. But that one's out there, and a lot of people are concerned.
Yeah, Crazy Coyote said, if you fill your head with useless information, that's why I said shorts. No, you're right about that. As far as, how, for people that work as a cashier or something, a checker at the grocery store, do they really need to know a life hack about nailing a 2x4 to a wall or something? Like those kind of things are not what I'm talking about. It's also the culture stuff, the 6 or 7 topics that people will never agree on. If you're on this side of the topic or that side of the topic, they're morally just ingrained in you. There's the topics we've all been fighting over for the last 5-6 years regarding life, pro this, pro that, pro anti this. All of these things are baked in there to where they can change your outlook on things over time. It's really, really crazy. I'll try to link a really good documentary. They dug really deep into the beginnings and the start of ByteDance before it was even TikTok. It's really, really trippy to see. I'm not an expert and I can't explain it as well as they did, but I'm sure if you see it with the receipts, you'll go, okay, now I get it. Okay. And before we move on, make sure to go check out EMP Shield. Like I said, all of our affiliates are products that we actually believe will either save you, could save your life, or allow you to actually get home, to get out. In this case, this can keep your engines running. on your cars. It can keep your engines running on your gas-powered generators. It can keep your home and your devices protected. It can keep your solar generator protected, your boats, motorcycles, trucks, vans, mobile homes, anything that you have that you want to keep running, you definitely want to get an EMP shield on it. It takes about 10 minutes to put in your car, and it will ground the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it's able to fry your device. I can't stress enough, this is a very quick thing that you can get. They ship out very, very quick. Usually it's next day. Again, they are super busy right now, so possibly allow a few days or a week, but once you get it, you can wire it in about 10 minutes, red to red on your battery, black to black on your battery, green to ground. If you have a newer car, then you most definitely want to look into getting this because your entire car is computerized at this point. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. It will protect you against EMP and a Carrington level event from the sun. Not only that, it will actually protect your home from lightning. So go over to marfooglenews.com/EMP. It's something that is preventable. It's two disasters, two really big, actually three disasters, but two really big disasters that are the most probable in our current situation. So if it's preventable, if you could stop it, why wouldn't you? Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP and make sure to use the code MARF. If the DHS and DOD is doing it, then we probably should be too. All right, and then Russia scrambles nuclear-capable missiles to NATO border as World War III fears skyrocket. So, again, Russia has reportedly mobilized nuclear-capable missiles to its border with NATO member Finland as fears of Vladimir Putin escalating conflict in the region soar. I know that it's an ingrained thought, and our community has talked about it a lot. I've seen this comment 1,000 times. Oh, Russia doesn't actually want to do it. People are really torn. A lot of people actually want to believe Putin because so many of the things he said were what we consider actual truth compared to a media that has been lying to us nonstop. The more that you find out about our own gov, it's harder to follow it. But at the same time, it's crazy that it's people are proud of our country, proud of this, proud of that, wouldn't want to live anywhere else, but they also cannot take how much we're being lied to by our own media, to the point where it's really sad that we live in a current time where people want to believe Vlad over anybody else right now because of the other things he's said people actually agree with. But as far as it is a debate, and it's been constant, whether he really does want to take the Baltic states or he's just trying to defend himself. There's two sides of the coin. We don't know which one's true, but as a prepper, we look at it and see, even if it's a possibility that he does go past Ukraine, or there is some force up above that is trying to push him to the point where he has to, or he does anyways because they piss him off so much, or they literally, it's like they're going to keep going in and in and in and trying to destroy Russia to the point where they go, okay, grab all their allies and they say, we're not going to be picked on anymore. And then it's a straight on hot war with all of the adversaries and all of the allies going head to head. That is where it's headed. Most of us are seeing that right now, and our gut feeling says it's not going to get better until it gets worse. With this, they're moving missiles all around. I don't think, again, that they're going to nuke anything, and if they do, it's going to be a tactical nuke, or it's going to be something that they make an example of something. But they are moving nuclear-capable missiles to the border. So some will be like, this is really scary. Some will say, they're just bluffing. They're puffing their chest. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And it also says the Missile Defense Advocacy Alliance, MDAA, called the Excalibur M the weapon of choice for Moscow when making threats throughout Europe. The think tank Royal United States Services Institute, RUSI, said that they provided Russia with a significant capability over Ukraine, specifically in tactical operation strikes. Now, we don't know if they are actually going to consider the lines that have been crossed and say, hey, we're finally done getting, our red lines crossed, because they actually have a decree that they made for what would constitute a nuclear strike. We have covered that it is a fact that all at least 2 or 3 or even 4 of those things that they put in writing. So say if they take out more than 3 large airfields, if they take out 3 large warships, I think they're at 22, but at least 3 large ones have already been taken out. If they hit radar sites that are crucial to the defense of Russia, they just hit that. And by they, I don't know, because they say it's Ukraine. It could be this, it could be that. All of these things have happened. So everybody is just saying, oh, well, Russia's just going to keep taking it. Are they going to keep taking it? Or are they going to snap? Is something going to happen? Are they waiting for the right time? Everything you see from experts and think tanks, not only from there, but all around the world, is they believe that not only Iran, Russia, China, and others, they believe they are being patient. Just like we covered that China has been patiently waiting for the correct time, or at least this is what they're saying, to hit our infrastructure. It could actually be the CIA or 3-letter agency that's working for somebody way up top that ends up turning the lights off, and everybody will know where to blame. But if it is truly China that has been doing this, the common denominator is that all of these are patient. They're going to wait for the right time, and it's not going to be expected. If you are expecting something to happen, if there's rumors all over the internet that the 9th something is going to go down, usually it is not going to happen. It's going to happen on a Tuesday when you're not expecting it, and boom, all of a sudden something pops off and there's a huge new headline. At least that's how it seemed to me. But hopefully we don't see a nuclear weapon go off. And if we do, I can guarantee you the first thing that's going to happen is people are going to question it. Unless there's absolute proof without a shadow of doubt, any kind of nuclear thing goes off, people are going to question it more than ever now because of what has been said, because what has been set up. But it's very unnerving that they're moving these things around. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And by the way, thank you everybody that has already joined us in chat. Let's do a quick roll call before we move on. And thank you, Pantry Only Recipes. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the super sticker. By the way, Genius by Birth, thank you for also gifting badges. And then says, kind of weird that the potato campaign uses the ticker talk and the bill says it has a year to sell. Yeah, the current administration has literally used TikTok for their campaign. It's kind of crazy. And he's the same one that says, oh yeah, if it comes across my desk, I'll definitely sign. Under the same guy aligned with the same general that just recently left that said he would call China if we were ever going to nuke them and give them a heads up. It's like the same group of people. It's insane. It's hypocrisy every day, all day. And then thank you, Stephen, for subscribing. Thank you, Billingsley. Thank you, Angie K. Thank you for celebrating 4 months. And then over to chat, Charlemagne from Missouri. We've got Heaven's Peace, Bold to Coffee. Let's see here. Hello, Sherilyn. Millie is a traitor. Vicky K, just saying that. Do you remember right after all of that went down, they started monitoring how people talked about the military generals on X and other places? That's scary. Near Las Vegas, what is happening? We've got Oklahoma. We have LC. What's happening? Butterfly says surgery. I hope. Are you in surgery right now? KT Cleans a lot is here. I saw Bobby Sue is here. Thank you, Bobby Sue. Misty P. Chuck Norris. We've got Uncle Iro. We've got Los Angeles next to the ocean. Boy, oh boy. Cajun. Thank you. Ryan Matthew from Indiana. We've got Olympia, Washington. We've got Alaska here. We have Arizona. We have Michigan. We have Ohio. And, of course, OHIO. And we have Faith Parent, Gorilla Machinist from Maine, and so many more. Thank you. Aliens Erase All. That's the newer name. Thank you. And I see a lot of new names. Thank you. It's super, super awesome to see, and thank you for giving us a chance. Paula Mensing, and then we've got a lot of old school Fugel fam. Thank you. Magical Puppet from, was that Manchester? I think that was. Got some folks from outside the country as well. From the outside looking in, what do you guys think about what's going on here? be interesting to have other points of view. Nate Dennison, thank you for subscribing. As always, if you subscribe during the show, I always try to give you a shout out. Sweat and Ministries, ever find out about the Russian sub off the coast of Florida? I guess New York Prepper is talking about a USA nuke sniffer up and down the East Coast. I do know that was confirmed. Folks that do Flight Radar were covering that on TikTok, or not on TikTok, Twitter. And then, no, but like Dex and I both said, I don't doubt that there's Russian submarines there. There's probably one sitting in the Puget Sound off of my coast as well. They are very secretive, and they've done it before, so I wouldn't put it past them. And then Poland, we're ready to host nuclear weapons. So what a time we live in, Dex. Now Poland is saying that they're ready to host nukes.
Yeah, so as Russia is scrambling to put their nukes on the border of Finland, we've got, Poland jumping up saying, hey, bring them here, because we need them on our border as well. So the Polish president, Andrzej Duda, said that they are, quote, ready to host nuclear weapons on its territory if NATO decides to reinforce its eastern flank. That's almost like saying, hey, can you give them to us? That's the strategic way of saying put them here. They say Russia is increasingly militarizing the Kaliningrad Oblast, and recently it had been relocating nuclear weapons to Belarus, which we've also covered in the past. If our allies decide to deploy nuclear weapons as part of a nuclear sharing our territory as well, in order to strengthen the security of the eastern flank, we're ready for it. So Poland's asking for it. We've got Russia doing it. And I suspect we may actually start to see more movements on this. We've seen the recent movements. I think we saw most recently with open nukes was they told us they were moving a bunch of them into the UK. I remember we covered that a couple months ago. There may be some others that we may get announcements from, or they may do this without saying anything publicly about it.
Somebody said Poland has lost their minds. It's no coincidence that before this you had Zelensky and you had President JB go there by train. That whole thing that happened. Poland was one of the first to do a really big World War III type sign, which they put dragon's teeth up. Have you seen dragon's teeth? I'll just, for those, because last time I talked about it, people didn't know what I was talking about. Let me pull up DuckDuckGo here real quick. Dragon's teeth are for tanks. Dragon's teeth defenses. You'll recognize them once you see them. You'll think World War II. I mean, what other way? That's how I thought. I mean, right when I saw them, I thought World War II. These are dragon's teeth. They've put these along their borders. And this was before Romania announced that they had dozens of miles, and then some have said hundreds of miles of trenches. At the same time, Russia has dug 600 miles of trenches. This is all at the same time that Russia, of course, conscripted immediately. Took people off the street, took old people, sent them in with 100-year-old rifles, literally with ancient antique rifles to go fight. I mean, how? And then they took people from prison. They did all this, and people don't think that they're just trying to basically throw away everything they possibly can without using their first stringers, right? They're varsity guys. They're sending in the third bench, and they're doing as much damage as they could without ever touching their real guys. For the first year, they didn't do anything. They didn't even use a jet over the border. Now they're using the real stuff, and we're seeing the real results. Like I said, the common denominator is patience. These are long-term things. If you're taking over the world, and I'm not saying Russia is, but Russia's part of it, it takes years and years and years. But yeah, those are dragon's teeth. Poland has closed all of their borders. We've covered so much Poland. And then Poland has told their citizens. Poland is straight up telling their citizens to get ready. I mean, and this is just one of many of the European countries and the other Baltic states that are telling their people to prepare. It's really... It seems obvious to me what's going on. At the same time that they're all trying to come up with an alternative currency and a system that rivals the dollar. I mean, this is going to be war. There's no ifs, ands, and buts. And the strange thing is, though, the person that's currently the head of our country, you think, gosh, he's got to be on that side. So who is on our side? That's the thing that's getting harder to tell, is who is actually on the U.S.'s side. And by the U.S., I mean, I hate to say it, but like, that line from Civil War, it's like, what kind of American are you? Why does that line, even the movie now is using that as their tag slogan, like, what kind of American are you? We're seeing it in real life. It's just a trip. Somebody is artificially pushing not only war, but even division in our own country. And then NATO ally confirms F-16 to Ukraine as entire fleet decommissioned. Now, there's not actually much here. It's straight up. So the Danish ambassador to Ukraine has said that Kiev will receive F-16 fighter jets from Denmark this summer as promised. Don't worry, there will definitely be airplanes for Ukraine. Ambassador Ole Egberg Mikkelsen said in an interview Sunday. He added that Denmark's entire fleet of F-16s were being decommissioned, and some would go to Argentina. So they're getting a whole bunch of stuff that's probably going to get knocked out of the sky. I don't know how old these are or how out of date, but they can definitely do some damage with it. That's for sure. But will it stop? Will it stop Russia from winning? I don't know. Dex, do you think how much of a dent do you think that that these F-16s will do against the newest 5th gen?
Well, it's certainly better than what they have. So I think, we just saw the other day, like we were automating and putting AI into F-16. So it is a modern, it may not be the 5th generation, but it is still modern, still very, very well capable. Lots of other countries have been buying them and continue to use them. So I think it's definitely an upgrade from what they're currently using.
Prepperines over on X says, Normalcy Norman says, everything is going to be all right. All right, all right. Do you guys hear that on a daily basis? People saying nothing's going to happen? How do you guys respond to that? When your friends and family say, oh, nothing's going to happen. That's the thing. I don't understand that seems to me like the extreme other side, is that nothing is going to happen. I mean, we know something's going to happen. It's crazy to me that it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, if you're old or young, everybody believes something's about to happen. But most people are really arguing about the motivations of it and who's doing it, this and that. I think if you go with the obvious answer, I think it's the closest to the truth. I think the obvious answer makes sense, but people don't want to go with the obvious answer because other theories that are prevalent too. So it's hard to believe anything at this point. Moment Ukraine TV tower collapses in major city after brutal Russian strike. So also they have been going after infrastructure in Ukraine, and this was a big chunk of that. They've been losing huge chunks of power because different power and energy sites have been hit. Now they're going after TV. One thing I think of is if we were to ever go into a war or if something happened here, here's one thing I think, and this is my personal opinion, if we know that something is happening here in the United States is when when we don't have, this is old school TV towers. We're all digital. I'm not super familiar with how the new system works compared to the old one, but we used to have a regular signal that would go out with TV. Now everybody's changed over to the new one, but their TV and their communications have now been hit in huge chunks of the country. I think about what happens here when we lose TV and cable and internet and all of that. How would that go down here? But of course, this was a massive strike on one of their big TV towers that was providing communications for a huge area. And I think that there's a lot more of these kind of strikes happening that the news tries not to show as much. But But the video came out. Shocking footage posted to social media shows the moment that Ukrainian TV tower collapsed following a strike by Russian forces, causing widespread communications outages in Kharkiv. Video clips shared online have shown the top part of the tower being blown off from the bottom half of the structure before falling to the ground. Because they already got their money. I don't think that this is like, oh, well, we've got to help them. I think this might be just what's happening. And then the shipping industry pleads with the UN for enhanced military presence as maritime choke points chaos spreads. So once the Strait of Hormuz was involved, that's when a lot of us, our ears perked, because everybody's been kind of waiting for something crazy to go down in the Strait of Hormuz for years, since that gentleman talked about, I saw a plan that takes out 7 countries in 7 years, and the last being Iran and all this, and there would be a ship that went through the Strait of Hormuz, and it would be painted with this color, and something would happen and it would start this off. Now, of course, you have ships that were just taken. Iran took control over a cargo ship last week, and now they're calling for military presence, which is not cheap. It's not free either. Dex, what would an enhanced military presence be? That would be our military, right?
Certainly. They're asking the UN to do it. So this is kind of interesting, seeing if the UN will get with partners from the UN countries together to actually supply and increase military patrols. And if they can do it under the flag of the United Nations, then it may be more acceptable and less provocative than doing it as, say, a U.S. patrol or a U.S. and the U.K. patrol like we do in the Red Sea right now. I think that's one approach they're looking at this, by going to that nation body to ask for this type of thing, because it sort of changes that dynamic. But ultimately, if it'll be interesting to see if it goes even to like a vote or something like that, if one of or both of the big players that have veto powers, like China and Russia, veto it. But we'll see. But at the end of the day, we know that shipping has just taken a massive hit, even without the Strait of Hormuz, just with what's happened in the Red Sea. Everything's gotten more difficult. People don't want to go through that area, so they're going all the way around Africa. It takes a lot longer, a lot more loss, a lot more cost. So all of that is affecting, inflation. It's affecting costs. It's slowing things down. And even countries like China that made a deal with the Houthis to not be targeted still got hit. Now, maybe that's not happened as much, but still, that's just an example. That's how extreme it is in that area right now.
How many of you are worried about, in this specific area, the Strait of Hormuz, a Fantastic Freddy happening? That's my thought, is that this is something's being set up to where you all of a sudden you get video or some sort of low Earth atmosphere satellite photo of a U.S. ship attacking, some other ship or something, or you have an Iranian painted ship or something doing something horrid to a U.S. ship, direct war, something like that. That's my worry with this, and then maybe that's why they're trying to do with the UN instead. Maybe they know that's on the docket, but who would be doing the Fantastic Freddy? That's what I wonder. I don't know, that area, just anything sea related. We've had past things like the Gulf of Tonkin and other events that have done the exact same. Now, if you don't have backup power, make sure to go check out Energy. A lot of the different scenarios that could pop up. Look at with Ukraine. The first thing that anyone will do if we ever go to a full-on war, or if we get invaded or anything happens, or if we get hit, a cyber attack or an EMP, power would go out. That's why the first thing they go for is power and communications. If you don't have backup power, definitely recommend getting yourself a gas-powered generator. But if you want to take it to the next level, a solar generator is silent. It is not only silent, it is unlimited power as long as the sun comes up. So every day you're going to be able to gain power not only from the sun, but you can also charge it from your wall when you do have power and have that ready. This isn't just good for an SHTF situation. These are awesome for just power outages. If you lose power a lot because of different storms, or if you live in an area with a lot of bad weather, then these things are awesome. Not only can you add mods just like Lego bricks, you can actually add in additional batteries, up to 96 batteries. This thing is my favorite, and I will tell you, I've tried several of these, and I even tried the ones that you can get on Monday. And honestly, if you look at anything that is competing in this space, this is the best bar none. That is why the U.S. Army chose the Energy Flex 1500 or the Flex Tactical, and then the Flex 1500, the other commercial one, is absolutely one of the best units out there. The 1500 is made like a tank, but the Tactical is literally made like one. I mean, these things are tough as nails. 1,500-pound latch system, reinforced steel frame, and built-in heaters into every battery so you can use it in extreme cold. The U.S. Army is going to be putting these on the back of trucks. So, again, they don't pick things for their looks or for pretty, or they can take selfies or their Bluetooth connectivity. They pick things because they can turn on and turn on every time. Mind you, again, this does not have any chance. There's no company that is making it that's a front for a certain country that we've been talking about, which I will say this. If you look at some of the competitors that you can get right away, which you have to wait for this one, they go look at the company and then go look at their ties. That's why I did not pick one of the big competitors that a lot of people have gone with. So again, make sure to check out and actually do your research on that, because in an SHTF or even an extended power outage, you want something that's going to work and that somebody can't turn off remotely. You don't want something with an internet access. This does not have that. This is gonna be a power source for you, and you can alter it, you can mod it, you can add different features to it as you wish. You can customize it however you want, just like Lego bricks. Add those mods in. Go to marfooglenews.com/energy and make sure to use the code Marfoogle. You'll save money and you'll help our independent channel at the same time as getting something that's absolutely one of the most useful things you can have. You can take it with you, you can work with it, you can take it out to your yard, build a fence with it, power your drills, charge your stuff. It's absolutely awesome. marfooglenews.com/energy. Make sure to use the code Marfoogle. And if you do have a positive experience, share it with us or leave a phone message at 224-400-MARF. If you if this has already saved your butt, let us know. Leave us a phone message. I'd love to hear it. And then let's go over to Iran. Unveils a new weapon capable of taking out America's stealth jets. So I wonder how they I wonder if they came up with this thing themselves. Dex. So they came up with a new enhanced version of one of their weapons.
Yeah, so they recently introduced the enhanced version of the Bavar 373 long-range air defense system that they claim can intercept American stealth jets. So they paraded this thing around on just the other day. They noted that the officials had made bold claims about the Bavar 373, including that the system now, quote-unquote, matches or even surpasses the capabilities of Russia's advanced S-4000 or 400 missile system, which we know is fairly capable. But they also have claimed that the most significant claim is that the latest version of this intercept can actually take out fifth-generation fighter aircraft like the F-35. So they actually said it can take out the F-35. So it's a big claim. I don't know. They haven't shown any proof, but not like we've got F-35s flying over there right now. But you know, Israel certainly could at some point. They possibly did the other day, for all we know. And if they continue to go back and forth, then there's certainly going to be an option to do that. And maybe that's just putting this out there to sort of reinforce that they can take down those F-35s.
They don't have the receipts. There's no way they can tell if it took out an F-35, because there hasn't been an instance where this system was used with a real F-35. They don't have receipts that they had gotten their hands on one of our fifth generation fighters. Here's one thing I thought of though. Dex, you know what's really creepy? What if China's exact carbon copy of our fifth generation fighter, because remember China took the blueprints of our fifth gen fighters. What if China and Iran worked together on this? What if China took one of their fighter jets, which a lot of folks think it's literally a carbon copy of ours, from our blueprints that were stolen, What if they used it against a Chinese F-35 copy? So maybe there's something there.
It's certainly possible, man, but they would really have to have a lot of trust. I mean, I know they have an alliance, but they would have to have some superior trust there between those two nations to allow them to design something that would take out their own jet. In other words, China would have to trust Iran a lot. I don't know that
maybe, but maybe China's involved more than you think. Maybe China's actually in charge. So if you go to the crew that's in manning these Bavar 373, maybe they're actual Chinese soldiers. I mean, if you think about that, I think they are closely working together. I think you've got just like they've admitted that U.S. soldiers and NATO soldiers and French soldiers are running the missile systems in Ukraine. Do we trust Ukraine? Think about that. I don't think we trust Ukraine. They said they trained Ukrainian soldiers to run these systems, but then we find out that NATO soldiers are actually still shooting things down. So I don't know. I maybe that's why.
I mean, we don't trust Turkey to give them F-35s, and we don't trust Ukraine to give them F-35s either.
But also, would they be giving it to Iran, or would they just be working with Iran? The system, you gotta. I
think it might be the other way around. I mean, it might be that China developed the capability and then handed it to Iran and said, "Hey, you can use this. Here's how you program it against an F-35."
Yeah.
And we're not going to tell you how to program it against our plane, but they may have tested it on their plane.
Yeah, that's a creepy thought, because why would they make? I mean, they can make this claim all day, and this is a couple days after we did the elephant walk of all of our B-2. I wonder if it can compete against those things. Those things, I believe, aren't they more stealth than the stealth fighter jets because of how they fly? I wonder what is more stealth, our 5th generation F-35, whatever they are, or the B-2 bombers, the new variations that are really, really good. They say they can get through any defenses. Hence, a couple days later, they say, hey, we can knock out stealth fighters out of the sky. I don't know. Is this a response to the B-2 elephant walk? And is it even, is there any truth to it at all? We don't know. But we're following it. And by the way, Snow Leo, thank you so much again for your super thanks. It's kind of like a super chat on previous shows. Thank you on Grid Down interview with Expert Prepper on Alaska Prepper Show. Thank you. Again, thank you. And thank you for your testimony there. Let's see here. Going over to D-Live. Thank you, Life is Better on Stilts. JWinch99. Thank you, Durango X Nubaru. We thank you again. Thank you for supporting Chance Paladin. Thank you for modding over there. If you guys haven't checked out Chance's books over on Amazon, you can find those over at marfugglenews.com/friends. 100% of that, you can go support Chance's author career by going over there and supporting him. I guess you kind of support Amazon too, but he's got great books, so go check him out. That is over on marfugglenews.com/friends, and then just go to Chance's Amazon link. And then, of course, you have all sorts of awesome mods there. I see we had Ilea. I thought somebody said CJ was here, so thank you if you were. But Ilea, I know you made it. Rip Curl's been making it to a bunch of shows. Thank you so much. I know you guys have busy lives, but thank you so much for making it. Lisa, thank you. RGL. Wages World has been super busy. He's been producing more content than ever. He's been covering all of the solar events, so go check these guys out. They all, in their own right, are the most creative and smart people I know, so make sure to share the love. And then North Korea fires a ballistic missile, or actually multiple. South Korea and Japan say. And it seems to me like something's just going to pop out of this area out of nowhere. That I think it's going to be some sort of surprise that really won't be surprising. North Korea fired several short-range ballistic missiles on Monday toward the sea off its east coast. South Korea's military said, drawing a swift condemnation from Seoul, which called it a grave threat to stability in the Korean peninsula. A Japanese government alert and its Coast Guard also said North Korea had fired what appeared to be a ballistic missile. The projectile appeared to have landed outside of Japan's exclusive economic zone. And it says that South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff said that the North launched what it's suspected to be several short-range ballistic missiles from near its capital, Pyongyang. The missiles flew about 180 miles and landed in the sea. Nothing new here. Obviously, they've launched short-range ballistic missiles before. It's like, are we in this zone now? Are we going to see them start launching all the time? And what are they actually practicing for? It's kind of crazy. They spend this much money just to drop it in the ocean. You would think, Dex, out of all of the tests they've done, why do they test so much? Is the test itself is the message, right?
Well, it's a message, but it's also, it goes back to possibly being normalization when it gets so common that people just get complacent with the fact that they're launching, so that one day when they do launch, it might be considered a test when in reality it's not.
Yeah, and do they respond? Do they try to take these things out? Will they have time to? If they did end up, say, nuking Japan out of nowhere, not South Korea, like one was heading over Japan, how many times has a ballistic missile from North Korea gone over Japan? They do alarms and the air raid sirens every time it's happened. If you remember when T-Man was president, there was so many creepy videos. Japan has one of the creepiest air raid sirens I have ever heard. At least some of the towns, the videos in a couple of those smaller towns, that was so creepy. Dex, do you remember those videos of Japan's air raid sirens?
Yeah, it's creepy.
It's speaking in Japanese, but then it says it in English. It says there is nuclear weapons up above, and this is not a drill. It's so creepy. And then the sound, the tones they use are even creepier than our generic. It's like beep beep. So creepy. One of these days, it could just hit. And how do they decide if they would ever try to take something down or think, oh, they're just practicing? And then China building a new outpost on U.S. doorstep. Leaked documents reveal. I'm not trying to say I told you so, but I told you so. I said that they were building forward operating bases 5-6 years ago. The Spratly Islands, I think, are part of their forward operating bases. Now it says on a Caribbean island, just 220 miles from the shore of the U.S. Virgin Islands, a black-clad Chinese security guard swept an arm at more than 1,000 acres of woodland and a glittering aqua-green marine reserve beyond. It's like a small country, he said in Chinese. This natural paradise on the island of Antigua, where officials will study the thoughts of Xi Jinping, is about to be raised for a Chinese-run special economic zone, according to documents reviewed by Newsweek, and it will have its own customs and immigration formalities, a shipping port, and a dedicated airline that will be able to issue passports. Are people not seeing this yet? It will establish businesses offering everything from logistics to cryptocurrency, facial surgery to virology. China, its state-owned companies, and aligned private businesses are expanding rapidly in the island nation of Antigua and Barbuda and in the other Caribbean countries in this strategic region long known as America's third border. Isn't it interesting that this is all happening? And then Haiti, all of the stuff that's going down with there, Cuba, all of the stuff going down with there. They are now welcoming 200,000 new, Russian tourists. They're opening up tourism specifically to Russians. It's like, and then, and then you go over here, right? This is their third border. But then you also go to our other main border. You go down into Panama, and you have the Darien Gap. We covered this a few weeks ago. There is a huge column being built, a column built big enough to have a column of tanks, a bridge being made in one of the areas that they say is one of the only places where it could stop a column of tanks. And nobody knows who's funding it. There's pictures of this giant bridge being built in the middle of nowhere. Why? Well, if you want to get to America through this area, you have to go through that Darien Gap where it's one of the main places. And then you go up through here, you go up through Mexico, and then you get to our border. So, yeah, the outpost, getting China starting this outpost, saw that coming from a million miles away. Dex, it's kind of crazy because they can make their own islands if they want to. I wonder if they'll start doing that. If they establish themselves there, will they then be able to go outside in the Caribbeans and then do the same thing they did with the Spratly Islands and make airfields and start saying, hey, this is Chinese international waters? Think about that. With the technology, and by the way, they spent billions of dollars investing to double the speed that these trawlers, these island maker special boats can do. They spent billions of dollars on that, and that's not for no reason. They're making these boats that can take dirt from the bottom of an ocean, pile it up, and in half the time, they can create an island like the Spratly Islands, the airfields, everything else. Why do you think that they're posting up in the Caribbean? And then if they set an encampment there, they have a city or a country, if this is true, they could literally start claiming that as China. Dex, is that not creepy or what?
Yeah, it's pretty creepy the way this one's being set up. Obviously, there's probably some financial incentives here for Antigua and Barbados and whoever else may be involved. And they're going to get, probably in over their head and then have to get bailed out. And when they get bailed out, then China's going to ask for more or actually take more. And that's going to be a big deal. I mean, they're going to be right there in our Caribbean. And if they do that, what's going to stop them? And what about all the land they've bought in our country? What about all the homes they bought in our country? I know that doesn't mean anything as far as sovereignty of their country, but it's ownership of land, it's control, it's people, it's resources. There's a lot going on, and it happens all the time. And most times people don't see it. Just, you got lucky on this one where somebody was able to find some documents and revealed it.
And it's not a surprise to me. Are you guys surprised by this? Let me know in the comments down below. Carla Raton. I don't do anything. My family doesn't speak to me about that or at all. Carla, there's a lot of people like that. I have a family member, their adult children doesn't talk to her, and it's just horrendous. She was the perfect mom, literally the perfect mom. They had just a dream childhood. And, they always say that usually it's not as perfect as you think it is. That there's literally was. So I get you. And it's all because my family member is on the side of the aisle that she is. So at a ministry, there is a high-ranked colonel or general believes we will not see the selection of the next prez. So something is definitely on the horizon. Sweating Ministries, I know. I mean, think about think about the comments not only from him, but think about the comments from Mr. Gates and others. Why are they saying this very specific thing? Why are people like Jeff Zuckerberg making $300 million bunker mansions? Why are people like Sam Altman and why does Gates have a bunker under all of his homes? And he has a lot. They know something we don't, and people just want to deny it. And thank you, Sweatnam. I appreciate that. D-Live, thank you, guys. Thank you, 1-Up-B. Thank you, Jay Winch. Thanks for the continued support over there. I appreciate you. And Life is Better on Stilts. Thank you. And we have Columbia University. So there's a lot of stuff going in all of these universities, including, of course, Yale. A lot of people saw Yale and Harvard. Somebody just got... was it Harvard or Yale? One of those just had another issue too, which we'll talk about that here in a second. But this one is not related. It was the professor. There's another woman professor who made a simple comment about biology and is now getting canned. And what she said is just absolutely unbelievably tame and super respectful of everybody. But if you're not full on going extremely to the other side, then that in itself is a crime now. But Columbia University president orders virtual classes as protesters take over. Says, quote, and they're literally chanting, "We need a reset. We're begging for our own demise." It's insane. Dex, do you want to go over what happened at Columbia?
So the students there were told in an overnight statement that all classes are going to be held virtually on Monday because the protesters had taken over the campus, according to the president. So they literally took over the campus, at least as they're stating it. So they posted a statement early hours of Monday morning, said they were deeply saddened by the actions of the agitators, and they, put out a politically correct statement about it, saying that, but unfortunately, we're going to have everybody have class remotely. You can't come to school. Like, stay in your dorm, stay at home, wherever it is you are. And then went on to say we need a reset to de-escalate the rancor and give us all a chance to consider next steps. I'm announcing that all classes will be held virtually. So they're trying to put a stop to this. Now, mind you, college campuses are the one of the hotbeds of protesting. I mean, let's take it all the way back to, Ohio and Vietnam and all the other locations that just had, lots of uproars at different times. It's not that it's normal, but it's to be expected, I guess, is what you should say when it comes to this, because there's a lot of opportunity to foment there, and there's a lot of young minds that are easy to get empowered behind something, whatever that something that may be, whether it's brainwashing or whether it's positive. You got them on all sides of engagement that go on college campuses. Some just get more extreme than others. And when they take over a campus like this and it gets extreme, then they feel like they can't control security and they can't have safety. So in this case, they sent everybody home, told everybody stay home and don't come to school. And this isn't the only one, and it's going to continue.
And I'm not even talking about this, the other cultural things that are happening right now regarding other things in colleges for 20 plus years. They've custom picked out. If you want a certain viewpoint used, then you just slowly pick out anybody that has a different viewpoint, or you just don't hire them. And soon enough, you start washing out anything that goes against the view you want in that college. It's been happening across the country. There's whole interviews with hundreds of professors across the country. If they are a certain leaning, they don't say it in school anymore. At almost all of the major well-known colleges. How does that happen? Who made that happen? When you look, it gets kind of creepy. And then Yale's university campus with riot gear as hundreds of students stage anti-IS protest. So it's happening at a lot of the different colleges. Of course, protests in itself, not a bad thing. In fact, protests obviously it's something that should be allowed. But as far as, all of the stuff that's going on right now, I think people really wonder on, how is it getting put together? People wonder what's pushing it, and if there is good intentions at the heart of all of them, and where, the organizers and things like this. Several of the other ones that have happened recently, you track it up to the very top, and it's like there was some pretty shady people at the top, putting them together. But yeah, Yale and Columbia had huge, huge events. And then, by the way, that other one that I was talking about, I believe it's Harvard. I will have to look it up. I will try to look it up and I will tweet that out. I think I already tweeted something about the person who said that. I just couldn't believe they were getting fired for the statement that they said. It was just so benign, and it was so politically correct compared to anything else. Dex, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to add, there's even another one that was breaking during the show, that there's police and riot gear in State Polytech University in California because there's another protest going on there. So, and the reason, going back to Yale, I mean, the reason it's not that they're protesting, it's the fact that before the protest or in leading up to it, there was like a student journalist who was, stabbed or something like that. And so there's violence that gets mixed in with it. And that's when, protests don't become peaceful. It doesn't mean the person sitting on the ground is the one responsible for doing it. But the organization or the organizing of that is creating that environment. And if the environment turns, non-peaceful, then that's the problem. Peaceful protests should be great, should be allowed. But I get it when it's non-peaceful.
It's crazy that Yale it was founded in 1701. It was founded before the Constitution. I did not realize Yale has been around that long. That is insane. That's 323 years ago. Gosh, that's crazy.
Is that where the skull and...
Yeah, one of them.
That's where they're from. I think they're from Yale.
Isn't there different? There's different groups too, isn't there? I think there's multiple.
Yeah, but the famous one from the movie and with the bushes and those, I think, is Yale.
And then, do you know of some other ones listed in the chat? And then, before we move on, if you haven't checked out Jace, this is a great way. If you if you're dependent on medicine every day, it was definitely an eye opener when just about a month ago, 30,000 pharmacies went down because of a hack, and that was just a temporary thing. If we have an SHTF, if you think about it, you're not going to be able to get gas, of course. But do you think if you're not able to get gas or groceries that you're going to be able to go to the pharmacy? Absolutely not. So a lot of folks are preparing for that, and this is a really great way to do it. There's, of course, the Jace case, which has everyday antibiotics and different emergency medications that you would need to use, ones that you can't just go buy off of the counter. So this actually has a board-certified doctor. You do a full telehealth visit right on your computer, and you're able to get yourself a case with a lot of useful things. Antibiotics can be the difference of, obviously, you get a sliver could literally take your life in an SHTF situation where you can't just go to the hospital, you can't just go get antibiotics. But on top of this, something that I think that everybody should look into is getting yourself Jace Daily. That's a year extended supply of prescription meds. I mean, you don't have to really tell you why that's important. You will literally have a year supply of meds that, of course, you can rotate into your current meds, and you'll always have a extra year. That's at marfugglenews.com/Jace, and make sure to use the code MARF. Not only can you save on the Jace case, but you'll save and support us at the same time. Thank you guys for doing so. We appreciate it, and thank you for supporting Independent. Dex, do you want to go over the mystery as Camp Lejeune Marine Sergeant perishes in late-night training near a controversial military base?
Yeah, so a couple of stories here. Obviously, the controversy of the military base is not new. I'm sure many of you have heard what's been going on there. But just recently, just the other night, a young 23-year-old had perished during a late-night training, and the circumstances around it are not yet known. They haven't come out yet, unfortunately, for him and his family. Prayers go out, and I know that's a difficult issue to deal with as a family, but also as his family in the military there too. So, but the other thing going on is there's a lot of stuff with this camp, Camp Lejeune, which I believe is Marines, and it's a Marine Corps camp, and they've, I guess, since the early days when it was built, on the Carolina lands there, that water was all contaminated. And they had been pumping it into those locations and drinking it for the longest of times. Now, I know at some point they stopped using the well waters and started to use, clean water, or at least cleaner water. But there's some weird thing going on where there's a high rate of cancers and other things from military members that have lived on or worked at long periods of time at that base. And that's why it's got like this strange mystery around it. And I think a lot of people understand what's going on. It's, there's something bad there. that's happened, and they need to figure out how to clean it up, and that's the biggest problem.
And if you have a story that nobody knows about, if you ended up having anything to do with Camp Lejeune, let us know. If it's old school, something from back in the day, you can also leave us a message at 224-400-MARF. Make sure to drop an M in the chat for the wonderful mods. Thank you guys for holding it down. And don't scan my chicken. This is actually pretty funny. Okay, so a lot of people are debating. They're like, wait a second, but you let them scan you. You'll see what I mean. So let's see here. Let's shrink this down a little bit. Okay, so just a little setup here. The gentleman's at Costco, and he has 5 rotisserie chickens. And I did not know this, and this is actually worth a conversation, but I'll show you here. Let's do this. I had not known this. In our community, I am absolutely surprised. I have not heard any of you talk about this. I have never heard this. I have never seen articles about this. This is a real thing. This is a concern with people. So let me show you.
You know who I am. I don't want any trouble.
Let me zoom out so you can see the full. Sorry, it's let's see here.
You know who I am. I don't want any trouble. I got 5 chickens. I don't want any LED on them. None. Scan my shirt 5 times, buddy. 5 times. You know who I am. I don't want any trouble. I got 5 chickens. I don't want any LED on them. None. Scan my shirt 5 times, buddy. 5 times.
I need the Costco card.
That's a regular credit card.
I need the Costco card.
Okay, hold on. I got one.
I don't know.
Here you go. I don't want to charge it on this card. I want to put it on this card. Scan it.
I think he's a TikToker. I think he's a TikToker.
Scan.
Somebody says, I think he's a TikToker. And again, this T-shirt he's wearing. Watch.
I did.
Okay. Done.
So if you are still confused, because I had to watch it the first 3, I'm like, LED, what are you? He's talking about the actual scanner. Now, I did not know, Dex, I don't think, you said you didn't know about this either. I didn't know this was a thing until I looked up, and there are a lot of people, 5 years ago, there's Reddits about this, and people experiencing people come through like this and say they don't want LED, the low, because it is a low radiation, it's a laser. They don't want it on their food. This gentleman went through the process of making a T-shirt, doing all. He has the actual UPC for that exact chicken. Went and made a T-shirt, then came back and scanned it. And people were like, "But wait, you let the laser scan you. You don't want your chicken scanned, but you're gonna let it scan you." I said, though, I get it though. It's a T-shirt. But has this ever been a concern? Have you ever heard of this? I've never heard of this, Dex. Before watching this video, have you ever heard of this?
No, I thought this was an absolute joke, but apparently I guess some people have an issue or think that there's something with those scan guns, those little, lasers, if you want to call them that, infrared scanners, whatever they are. Yeah, I didn't know that was an issue.
It made me wonder. I was like thinking, well, wait, because the way I think, I'm like, well, maybe he's right. I ended up looking up, and I guess it is low radiation, but I've never thought of this. I've never thought of this as like an issue. I guess I was surprised. Being in this community, we hear about every theory, about every little thing. I've never heard of this. How many of you have actually heard of this? No soup for you. Scanned my chickens. What a meathead. I like it. This kind of guy, I'd love to have him at my, Christmas, just yelling at people and telling old man jokes. I don't know. He reminds me of my Italian side of my family. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, I wonder if he's got aluminum foil under that shirt.
Yeah, it's crinkle pop, old crinkle pop. If they can force you to do it, then they win. This is your brain on laser scan. See here, think. I heard that they scan the fruit and none of the seeds will grow. I've never heard of that. I didn't know. Oh, Priscilla R., if you've only been listening, so the gentleman goes through and he makes a T-shirt with the barcode for the chicken. If you're only a listener, old man kind of looks like Ebenezer, does a shirt with a barcode. So that means he went to the store, got the barcode, took a picture of it, then then went to get a T-shirt printed or printed it at his house, and then goes in, buys the chicken, says, I don't want LED, I don't want your laser on my chickens. I don't want no trouble. I want you to scan my shirt 5 times. So he uses the laser and scans his shirt. I guess he's trusting him that it's going to be the right price, right? And it works, and he does it. I would think, though, yeah, obviously he had to have the current price of it, too, because the prices on chicken has changed, like, it varies. So, Dex, that also means he went and checked the prices, like, either that day or something like that. He did all this trouble.
Those are the rotisserie chickens, so it's got a standard UPC because they're always the same price. Okay. They're not by the pound.
Is it $5? Like
$5.99 or $4.99 or $6.99 depending on where you live or the price of chickens that day. Same UPC though.
I think it had to be 4 something or because it was $27 after tax. I think that's what it says on the video there. Yeah, it goes up. Tax due $221. Where is tax that small? So it's 5 chickens for $5, and there's only $2.21. Our tax here is like 11%, so that would have been on $20. It would have. I guess that makes sense actually.
So, some places have low sales tax on food.
Yeah, that makes sense. It would have been a little higher on 25. That would have been the tax on on $20 here. So it must be like 7% or 6% or something. 7%. Anyways, I thought it was unique and interesting. 7%. Okay, yeah. That makes sense. I guess I just never thought of it. That's really, really crazy. I find Costco expensive. So we've been trying to do Costco and Winco and stuff. It's getting so hard. It's insane. I mean, it's making people change their diets. You can't even eat homemade food anymore. People don't eat. We just covered the last week. The people aren't eating McDonald's. Middle class people. And I just had a conversation with somebody yesterday. It's like you used to be able to go and get the dollar menu, and if you were flat broke, if you had $2, which you could find $2 in change on the street, and go get yourself a couple burgers that could actually fill you up. Of course, it's not good for you. And those that were like, I would never eat McDonald's. If you're broke, McDonald's was an option. Wendy's was an option. These places were an option. That's the crappy part. That's why you saw the low income folks also was coinciding with overweight because they were eating crappy fast food, processed food. Now, McDonald's, there is no such thing as a dollar menu. And it's so absolutely disgusting because the amount that we're making isn't going up. It's really sad that we're in the spot right now with everything. Every single category is just not looking good. And I praise you guys that are complete optimists and say everything's going to be great. That's awesome. I'm unfortunately though I'm preparing for things not to go well, and I think I'll be happy and I'll actually be comfortable through a lot of these bad things that happen. So my happiness and my optimism will come later. Thank you guys. Thank you, Rip Curl. You are here. Bobby Sue. They don't have a dollar menu anymore. No, they haven't had one for like 3 years. No, I don't think there is such a thing. And they have not had even the value menu. A regular McDonald's, one little single tiny patty, it's like $2.59. A double cheese. Do you remember when the double cheese was on the dollar menu? That double cheeseburger is $4.29. $4.29 for a double cheese. Disgusting frozen patty thing. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, if you want to have fun with that, install the McDonald's app and act like you're placing orders in different cities, and you'll see what it costs. Like, Brooklyn versus the suburbs or somewhere else, because the pricing's all different.
Yeah, $18 for a Big Mac meal in, what was it, New York? One of the cities had $18 Big Mac meal, and I don't even think it was large. I think it was a medium Big Mac meal. Might have been a large, but still. And the soda, remember they took away the dollar menu and they added the dollar sodas. The dollar soda was a big deal, and it actually was priced right. That syrup is so dirt cheap. I worked two different fast food places, and how they make the soda is just a big box of syrup, looks like boxed wine, and it puts out, it can make so many sodas off of one of those boxes. The cost of that box compared to how much they upcharged the sodas, especially when they were charging $2, $3, when they brought it down to $1, that was actually reasonable, and they got you because you were throwing in an extra $1. They were making 75, 80 cents, 90 cents, and it was smart. Even minus the cups and everything, it was still making like 80%. So that was a big money maker. But now they're doing it on everything. It's disturbing, and yeah, we can all complain about the prices. I think we should be yelling about how they're going to change them back. I think people should not eat places that are doing that to the point where they have to figure out how to make them cheaper. And by the way, people are worried that they're going to say, oh, well, we can make cheaper meat, but we're going to have to do it with bugs. In fact, we've come up with a substitute that's a dollar menu, but it's all made out of locusts. I bet you that something like that's coming. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you, Dex. Appreciate you. Thank you for your help today.
Much love. Great job, brother.
And if you want to see the latest Marfoogle News video, then you will definitely want to click here. Join us for the shoutro. I'm going to be shouting out, of course, all of our top supporters. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, Resistance Homesteading. I appreciate you. And Sweating Ministries. You are a top supporter tonight. Love you guys. Be safe. Be prepared. And Marf out. It's now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro.
Want to be, I've known ever since I was a knee-high. You the monster, I don't feed her, cause I see ya. Hater, really wouldn't want to be ya. I've known ever since I was a knee-high. You the monster, I don't feed her, cause I see ya. Hater, really wouldn't want to be ya. I've known ever since I was a knee-high. You the monster,